The Mariners are back up to 500, but the concern tonight, Ty France's wrists. Got some quick thoughts following the Mariners 3-2 victory over the Oakland Athletics coming up here on the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors, and welcome to the Locked On Mariners postgame show. It is Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023, and your Seattle Mariners have defeated the Oakland Athletics by a score of 3-2 tonight at T-Mobile Park. I am your host, Gonzalez. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen after the Mariners' really interesting win tonight. Yeah, that's certainly one way to put it. This game was pretty normal for the first 7.5 innings, and then all hell broke loose in the bottom of the eighth, which unfortunately includes a scary injury situation for the Mariners and a Steve Bartman moment down the right field line involving Julio Rodriguez and a Mariners fan donning his jersey. Talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about Marco Gonzales and this offense as well. This is going to be a pretty quick show. Before we get into everything, though, this episode of the Locked On Mariners postgame show is brought to you by FanDuel. Grand slams, no-hitters, and double plays are back. And there's no better place to get in on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from who goes home with a win to the result of the very first pitch. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss your chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/LOCKEDON to learn more. FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. Marco Gonzales started this game for the Mariners tonight and didn't get off to a particularly great start. 2 earned runs allowed in the first inning, but then 5 scoreless innings from Marco. He was able to right the ship and finishes his night 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, both of those, of course, coming in the first inning on 5 hits, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, 88 pitches, 5 hard hit balls. That's pretty much everything you could possibly hope for out of Marco now. Obviously, got to factor in the opponent. This is the worst team in baseball after all, but a pretty good start for Marco. He gave you a chance to win. That's really all you can ask out of Marco at this point, every 5th day of the week, as long as he's in this rotation. So good stuff on that front. Curveball, changeup, really working for him tonight. The changeup, 58% outside zone swing rate. That induced 5 whiffs. 24% called strike plus whiff rate overall on that pitch. Fastball and curveball both clocked in at a 38% called strike plus whiff rate. Curveball induced 3 whiffs. Fastball induced just 1 whiff, though. But still, pretty good start for Marco. The guy facing him, though, Luis Medina, was, even though that he ends up taking the L in this one, arguably better. The Mariners were having a hard time picking up his slider tonight. 4 scoreless innings for Medina to start this one, and it looked like the Mariners were doing that thing again where, you know, they take 1 step forward and then like 3 steps back. They had the big offensive night last night, and then they just came out tonight looking incredibly sluggish. Again, Medina scoreless through the first 4 innings of this one, and then got 2 quick outs in the bottom of the 5th before Tom Murphy rocketed a double down the left field line. And then JP Crawford, of course, followed that up with a really nice swing for a 2-run blast to knot things up at 2 apiece. Ty France stepped up to the plate very next at bat and drove a missile of a solo home run. Back-to-back shots for the Mariners there between Crawford and France off of the out-of-town scoreboard above the bullpens in left field, and knocked out a panel on the out-of-town scoreboard right on the X of Texas. So X, of course, marks the spot as the Mariners social team coined tonight. So that's all the offense the Mariners got. So still not a great offensive night for the Mariners. They get all three of their runs in just one inning, and then looked fairly lethargic for the other 7 innings as they got a chance to bat in. But that's all they needed, and they win tonight by a score of 3-2, and they're back to 500, 24 and 24. But that's really not the reason why I'm here doing a post-game show, to be quite frank with you. If that was all that happened in this game, we wouldn't be here right now. I'd be probably in bed right now because it is 1:09 in the morning here in Toronto as I'm recording this. But the reason that I am here is because of that. I don't even know how to describe it. It was not a fun bottom of the eighth. I'll say that. So, going to talk about Ty France, his apparent injury, and that weird play down the right field line with Ramon Laureano and Julio Rodriguez and that fan donning Rodriguez's jersey out down the right field line. In just a moment, but first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners postgame show is brought to you by Ultimate Baseball GM. Ever dreamed of becoming an MLB GM and managing your professional baseball franchise? Well, your dream can come true, and this game is definitely for you. Manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the season, and lead your team to glory. You're responsible for hiring the right coaches and staff, managing team finances, scouting and drafting players, managing difficult personalities, navigating your franchise through free agency, and all the ups and downs of a season. All this in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Baseball GM is completely free and playable offline, or you can play on the go as you want and when you want. It's basically the Jerry Dipoto simulator. So instead of saying Chills, Dipoto did it again, you can now say Chills, I did it again. Download it now, and Locked On Mariners listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. To download the game, just visit probaseballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up on the app stores. That's probaseballgm.com. Ultimate Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today. So consider this show your Wednesday show because we are taking tomorrow essentially off. But you're going to end up getting 5 shows a week still. So though tomorrow, if you're not able to watch the game, you can catch the game on the Sirius XM app with the Mariners hometown broadcast. All you have to do is download the SXM app from your app store, and you can listen to the M's and the A's all night long, all to your heart's content. So, Ty France, I have knots in my stomach because that didn't look good. Ty France facing Trevor May, who is making his first start coming off the injured list. And I want to talk about Trevor May a little bit, but let's just go over the situation. May faces France, throws him a 94.5 mile per hour fastball, I believe is what it clocked in at, and hits France squarely on the left wrist. France immediately went down, agonizing in pain. I thought at first that it maybe hit his face or something because he was laying down on the ground face first, kind of covering his face, but it was his wrist. Training staff came out, Scott Service came out, and it ran some preliminary tests on France, decided that he was okay to stay in the game or at least France fought to stay in the game, ended up going down to first. But after the whole kerfuffle down the right field line that we'll talk about in a second here, was pinch ran for by Sam Haggerty. So France did not finish this game, and maybe by now there's some news about x-rays and how he's feeling. I haven't checked Twitter in the last 20 or so minutes, so you guys are probably privy to information that I'm not at the moment. So we'll see. But ultimately have to assume that they're waiting for the swelling to go down, that the swelling that is sure to have happened by now, go down before they before they make any decisions on France if he needs an IL stint or what have you. But this is obviously a concern because this could potentially be the third consecutive year that France could miss time with a lower arm injury. No matter the case, to me, before we get into everything else that happened in this 8th inning, just to address the France thing directly, to me, you have to go get Mike Ford or Jake Shiner. Doesn't really matter. My preference would be Ford because he's just tearing it up right now in the minors, and he has major league experience. Just as insurance, even if France is okay to go, even if he just needs a couple days to rest and let the swelling go down, etc. The insurance that Ford's tool set provides is more valuable to you than what Sam Harrity is providing you once every 6th day. He's not playing a lot. Colby went on a long rant on today's episode. I'm sure a lot of you heard it, and I agree with him. I don't think that this situation, Haggerty being on this roster, benefits the Mariners nor Haggerty himself. I think he needs time in AAA. And I think Ford just helps you more right now, especially given the circumstances of France's potential injury here. So I would expect that Mike Ford is at least in the Mariners clubhouse, at least as a member of the taxi squad tomorrow, that we hear something from Shannon Dreyer, Ryan Divish, etc., saying that Mike Ford is in the clubhouse. So we'll see. But I think that's something that the Mariners need to heavily consider here for sure. Because again, I think that 13th spot that's going to a position player is best utilized by someone that can play at least a little bit of first base right now. And Sam Haggerty, though he's done it, he did it a couple times in Toronto. He's not that guy. So, as for everything else that happened in the 8th, Trevor May, I want to tackle this head on real quick. Trevor May came off of the IL today, or made his first appearance after coming off of the IL. The reason that he was on the IL was for anxiety reasons. I feel really bad for the guy because he comes into this game. He obviously injures France. Didn't mean to do it, of course. He looked visibly upset after that happened. And then hits Eugenio Suarez a couple batters later in the back. Suarez gave him a little bit of a stare down, but May immediately apologized. And that's just an awful situation if you're Trevor May to land in. Again, the guy obviously wasn't trying to do any harm to any of the Mariners. He's also a local guy, grew up a Mariners fan. There's nothing there that suggests that anything that he did tonight was malicious. Just didn't have the best control, which is another conversation whether or not he should have stayed in that game. But I don't harbor any ill will towards Trevor May over what happened tonight. I feel really bad for him, and I hope he's doing okay. So, because that's a crappy spot to find yourself in your first game after coming back from what he came back from. So, as for what happened with with the fan interference thing, so we got this dude down the right field line, first row, rocking a Flava Flav chain, All-Star Game chain, and his Schoolboy Q bucket hat. It's fan interference. Like, let's get that out of the way. I saw a lot of people on Twitter when it happened saying, "Oh, that's a BS call," whatever. No, it's fan interference. Ball's in the air, ball's in play. That ball can be caught, and he leaned over the boundary. And whether or not he interfered with Ramon Laureano might be up for debate, but it seemed pretty clear to me that it went off the pinky of the fan's glove and deflected out of the catching radius of Laureano. Either way, whatever happens in that situation, interference or not, that's going to be an out. Julio fouled out in that play, and Laureano's either catching that ball or the fan interference is called. That's going to be an out. So I don't know if they were booing the umpires at the game. I don't know if they were booing the fan. Maybe a bit of both. It doesn't really matter to me. That was going to be an out. So who cares? Now, you shouldn't do that. That's stupid. Guys, ball's in the air. That ball is live. Can't do it. I don't know if he was kicked out or not. Camera stayed on him for quite some time. I don't know if you guys know if he was kicked out or not. Maybe some of you were at the game. Could maybe let me know about that. But stupid stuff. Unfortunately, it didn't have too negative of an impact on the game, other than just wasting everyone's time and leaving a lot of people really confused. But to conclude, that was fan interference. It's the right call, and it was an out either way. It was going to be an out either way, so really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. All right, so I think that's going to do it for me. Again, no show tomorrow, but this is essentially your Wednesday show. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I enjoy doing these quick little post-game shows. Let me know down below if you want us to do more of these. Maybe Colby can do some of them when he's free. It's just he does have a job that he also goes to, that he works nights for. So he wasn't available tonight to record. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. You can follow my co-host Colby at CPAT11. You can follow me on Twitter at Dane Gonzalez, DaneGNZLZ. I've been your host, Ty Dane Gonzalez. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well over at Locked On Mariners. That's one word, Locked On Mariners. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. Thank you again for making the show your first listen after the Mariners 3-2 win over the Oakland Athletics. Again, you can catch tomorrow's game and Thursday's game on the Mariners hometown broadcast with SiriusXM via the SXM app. Have yourself a beautiful baseball night, and we'll see you on Thursday. Peace. I got to do this manually. Colby's not here to hit it. All right, here's the outro. Bye, folks.